Our founding story at Root Capital involves a cooperative of vanilla growers in the Chimalpas jungle of southern Mexico. I remember my first visit, rushing river nearby, parrots were chirping, forest canopy above. The farmers were working hard to improve livelihoods for dozens of indigenous families, and they were struggling with drug traffickers who were operating in the jungle around them. I got to know farmer members and the leader of that association pretty well. He was a really charismatic guy with little to no formal business experience. We also played a lot of folk music together, which I try to do everywhere I go. A year prior, I had traded my job on Wall Street for a business journalism fellowship, which took my wife and me on a 2-year journey through Mexico. In the end, long story short, that vanilla cooperative failed, but it wasn't because of the drug traffickers. It was because they lacked access to capital and markets and basic business skills they needed to succeed. And that made a big impression on me. So I started thinking about how might one change that outcome. Not long after I met the vanilla growers in Chimalpas, my wife and I were accepted into the Harvard Business School. And eventually we got in our truck and we drove back to the United States. And along the way, I had this growing fear that if I didn't act on my ideas, I would lose the sense of urgency. So I ditched business school, and I've been building Root Capital for the past 10 years. Our mission at Root Capital is to grow rural prosperity by investing in agricultural businesses that build sustainable livelihoods in Africa and Latin America, to address the missing middle of rural finance. Businesses that might aggregate or represent several hundred or a few thousand small-scale producers, but they're too big for microfinance, and they're still too small or too risky, too remote for the banks. Identifying the problem is easy. Finding a solution is harder, and harder by far is building an organization that can address that challenge at scale. And we need to grow at Root Capital because there are many thousands of rural businesses out there and tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions, of small-scale farmers who still lack access to capital.